Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Recreation Advisory Board meeting. Today's Thursday, January 19th, 2023. It's 5:34 in the p.m. It's an exciting day. We've got a couple new members today and also two that are exiting. Looks like we have a quorum today, so first thing we can do is call to order the meeting. We don't need to vote on that, though, do we?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
All right. So let's go ahead and vote on approval of the agenda, which you should all have.
I would like to make one correction to the agenda,
Okay.
Daniel.
Yeah.
Under the approval of minutes, and this is my fault when I sent a note to you asking for these to be on here.
Uh-huh.
We need to approve March, April, June, August, and December, not May. May was approved last month.
Okay. And those months were contingent on the presence of certain,
Yes, they were. That was our understanding from what Councilman Swank had shared with us, but I got an opinion from the law director that once we get the agenda approved, I will share with everyone so we can get those off of our desk.
Okay. And do you also have record of the voting members? For those?
So after we approve the agenda, I can go over all of that for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
Approve the agenda with that change.
All right, sorry, jumping ahead.
No,
Okay.
that's okay.
So make it noted that in the agenda, where it says on part 3, under approval minutes, in place of May 2022, we will be looking at June 2022. With
I
that,
will make a motion to approve the agenda.
okay.
I'll second that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the agenda is approved. Okay, Andrea, with the approval of the minutes?
So, just for the record, in case anyone goes back and looks at any of our tape or reads our minutes, Alan conveyed that he believed that the individuals voting on the minutes had to be present at the meeting that the minutes were for. Mm-hmm. Because we had some challenges with the individuals present voting were no longer on the board, I reached out to Law Director Eliason, and she responded to me that there is no requirement in Robert's Rules of Order that a member have first-hand knowledge of something before voting on minutes or other motions.
Okay.
A motion need not be made regarding the approval of the minutes. The chair may say, are there any corrections to the minutes? Members may offer corrections, and when there are no corrections, the chair can say, if there are no corrections, the minutes stand approved, no second is needed, and we can move on to the next item of business. So all of these minutes were provided to everyone via email. So unless there are changes or corrections, we can vote to approve all of them at once.
Awesome. Does anybody have any corrections or changes to the minutes which are listed? No? Okay. So we can go ahead and approve all
Yep.
the minutes at once. All right.
Then the minute you would state, then the minutes stand approved and move forward.
All right, then the minutes stand approved and we can move forward. All right. Okay, moving on then to new business. First, I'd like to introduce our new members, Ann LaRue and Megan Russell. We welcome you to the board and we are excited to have you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Typically in the past, what we've done is just for new members, just briefly go through and I'll tell a little bit about myself and we can do that. I think that would be good. So I'm Daniel Brown. I think it's been since 2018 I was on the board, and I'm from Athens originally. I've lived other places, but have since been back for the last decade or so. And I have a background in wildlife biology, so for me, the Recreation Advisory Board is important in a lot of ways. I do like to recreate and play sports or various outdoor activities, but kind of my thing is the parks, and I really think that we have a valuable resource in outdoor spaces to do things, and so that is one I'd say arm that could fall under this board. Yeah, so that's just a little bit about me, and if you guys have any questions, down the road about anything, just feel free to let me know.
Hi, new members. Ash Allenson, working at the university since August 2017, been on the board since July 22. So originally not from Athens, as you probably can tell by my horrendous accent. So I moved here 2017, and with my role at the university as assistant professor of instruction in the coaching education program, I feel I can serve on this board by providing support with kind of what's going on in the community, with our students that are trying to get practicum hours, internship hours, and I also have a passion and interest in developing youth sport and participation in local communities such as Athens. I'm also married an Athenian, 1 year anniversary just gone, and kind of embedding myself into the community through their family since being here and being with her family for kind of nearly 5 years now. So that's kind of a little bit of background about me, but I'm more kind of interested in how we can develop community partnerships with the university, especially from a sport perspective, and potentially provide coaches for the community centre to try and develop those youth athletes that are coming in at the recreation level and get a passion for the love of sport. My background's soccer, and I've kind of committed with the Ohio women's soccer program at the moment. So I'd love to kind of give back to the community. It's a little bit difficult with my commitment time, but hopefully in the future that might change, and I might be able to do a little bit more hands-on coaching in the recreation environment. But at the moment I'm trying to support that with our students in our program.
Thanks. I'm Anne LaRue. You can tell from my Appalachian accent that I've been an Athenian for several decades. I grew up here. I've raised my kids here. I've taught kids here for over 23 years through physical education. We've used the parks. We've used the rec services. I see Wee Wigglers is still there. We did that when our kids were little. So I'm very versed in the indoor and outdoor opportunities that we can provide here. I come from a farming family, business family. I married into a farming family. I married into a first Families of Athens family, so we have very deep roots here. I'm glad to be part of this. I believe strongly in recreation around here, and the opportunities are growing by leaps and bounds with what we're bringing in with the ecotourism, and I think Athens is doing an excellent job of how we're making things available and keeping our eyes open for trends that kids and families want to do. And I'm glad to be part of this. Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Andrea Lewis. I'm the Director of Student Media at Ohio University, so I work with a lot of our student journalists and the such on campus. I've lived in Athens for, I always say over 10 years. It's been like 25, maybe more. It's been more than that. It's been since 1990. It's been since 1993. So that's pushing 30. My husband and I raised both of our children who are in college now, using a lot of the facilities that exist in the city of Athens, from their day camps, after school programs, learn to swim programs, youth recreation, sports. They were all involved in way more athletics than I was in high school. We're avid users of the trail system, bike path, and many of the resources. And I live close by to many of the resources, so feel that my community input that way is what could be of value.
Hi, my name is Megan Russell. I have lived in Athens. I do the same weird math that it's not a decade anymore. Since 2006, I came down for grad school, and like a lot of people, I stayed. And what drew me to stay was the environment, was Athens in general, not just the university. So run, bike, swim, have used all of the above, the trails, the bike path, the pool, both at OU and the community center. I think I spent a lot of time on the OU side of things as a grad student, and then an adjunct, and then as a grad student again. And it wasn't until I had my own children that I realized how much of the community I had kind of been missing out. I always used the bike path, always used the trails, but now super passionate about parks, green spaces that are accessible to children. My son, who will be 5 soon, is autistic, and so especially being mindful of accessibility issues when it comes to programs like Wee Wigglers and what the parks even, sort of look like, what the trail systems look like. So it's, coming from someone who's used it as an adult, a single adult, just like for fun and that kind of thing, to now having to be like a little more mindful about that, which is why I reached out about this position. Anyways, so, yeah, thanks.
Well, I'm Catherine Ann Jordan. I'm the Director of Arts, Parks, and Recreation. So my relationship to the board is that, you all are advisory to the mayor, since I am also looped into city administration and it's pertinent to my department. You're also advising me. But if you ever make formal recommendations and whatnot, I take that to the mayor. But also, I have different things that I know that we need help from within our department. And so I've posed that to the board, and we'll get to that later, but I'm just talking about the relationship. But there's also opportunities for you all to kind of have your own projects if you would like, or latch into something that, that I think is the most pressing, and then we just kind of problem solve and figure it out together. But I am from North Carolina. I lived in many southern states, and then Indiana, and then I moved here. I had a visiting assistant professor position at the university, and then when this position opened up, I applied. In the 2 years that we were here before I applied for this position, we fell in love with Athens, and I was really excited whenever the first time I visited here, or maybe the second time I visited here, because we were moving stuff. I already accepted the position. I actually had my kids on the splash pad because we didn't know it existed, and then we saw water going, and we were like, we don't have bathing suits, but let's go. and I think Andrew Chicky actually unlocked it for us because we were early. But anyways, it's fun to be now in this position. So, yeah.
Nice. Awesome. Oh, yeah.
Mother Teresa. I'm Alan Swank, member of City Council, 4th Ward, which is the Far East Side and the Near East Side. Need to back up a second in terms of Ann. One of the things Council did in the last year was to update city ordinances. And one of the ordinances at the time said that the rec board, you folks, had to be made up of 7 people. 5 could live in the city limits. 2 could live outside the city limits, but they had to live in Athens Township. The Plains, believe it or not, is split between Athens Township and Dover Township. And as we all know, Athens is the county seat. And we were able to change that from Athens Township to Athens County, which then qualified Ann to apply. So that's one of the things council has done in the last year relative to that. We have great people in Athens, but I think in the 66,000 people in Athens County, we have even a wider pool. So that was a real plus that we were able to include people outside the city limits. I've been in Athens come August 44 years, I think, longer than you've been alive, Daniel. We're pretty close to it.
Yeah.
Don't qualify as a townie, you have to be born here, but after 25 years, Andrea, you can be called a local. So I guess we are locals. 2 kids both born here in Oblenis, and 3 granddaughters born in Oblenis, so this is home. I've been involved with the rec department, all the way back to 1979. We had a rec director at the time by the name of Billy Thomas. In the summertime, he used to run films in what is now the maintenance building down there. And the films were pre-recorded films of horse races. And people would come down, and he had popcorn and pop, and you could get tickets and bet, not money, but bet on these horse races, and then give away prizes, and it was quite the hit. And then from there, gravitated to the West State Street ball fields to play softball, and then city rec basketball. We used to have a men's city rec team here, or a league here in town for many, many years, and we played everywhere. Morrison Elementary, in the Armory, believe it or not, there's a gym in there. So I've been involved in the recreation aspect for many, many years. And I'm the liaison to City Council. So Council has things they're working on, one of which I think we're going to talk about today, and then things that you have that need to come back to Council. I'm a conduit of taking that back to the City and Safety Services Committee. So that's my role in all of this. And welcome aboard to our 2 members. It'd be nice if we could fill all 7 of those seats so we don't have to worry about a quorum.
Thank you. Thank you, Alan.
Anybody in there?
What's that?
Anybody there need to talk? No.
All right, let's, next on the agenda, we have discussion of the 2 vacancies that are available now.
Go ahead, Daniel, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, I was just gonna say, I do not know if there's someone in mind for one of them, so it could be that they're both open.
I'm not sure, but as I've interpreted how things move forward, I would suggest that we would make our recommendation to the mayor and he can accept it or not accept it. And go from there so that we don't waste a meeting and have to wait another month. And as a result of the conversations we had last month and the individuals on the list, I would be comfortable making a motion, if anyone was willing to second it, to recommend that we consider Stuart Goldsberry, who lives in the city of Athens, he's an Athens native as well, to fill the expired term of Greg Lavelle, and Annie Valiant to fill the vacated term of Rebecca Dillon. Because we discussed moving everybody up through the list, and then that would allow council, if the mayor approves those recommendations and they go to council, they could be here next month and we could still be on track to start an ad hoc committee for the master plan and all of that.
Yeah. If you,
If anybody has any questions, I can pull up their information, or if they're unfamiliar with who they are.
Well, I know Annie, so I think that's a good shout, and I'm more than happy to second that motion for Anne.
And then what about Stuart? Or are you comfortable seconding the motion as a package?
I second it for Stuart.
Okay. Oh, I should type that. I think it would bring nice balance to the board, their skill set and where they come from with who's sitting here and kind of our backgrounds. It would kind of round out some things and give us some different circles of influence and interest.
I would agree. Just based on discussion last month, I felt like they both definitely would be good additions. So if you want to make a motion, I will be in favor.
I'm putting in the record that I made the motion to recommend Stuart Goldsberry to fill Greg Lavelle's expired term, which Ann seconded, and Annie Valiant to fill the vacated term of Rebecca Dillon, which Ash seconded, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, let the record show that it was unanimous.
So from a city council standpoint, you had a little blip in the system last time in terms of getting this information to council to get on the agenda. First question, who is going to get this information to the mayor? Is it chair? Is it Catherine Ann? Because
it was my blip. I had an unexpected death in the family the day after our meeting,
Okay.
and it kind of impacted the whole holiday season and getting the minutes done. Usually I'm not that slow, so I will make sure these minutes get to the mayor, to Patty, Catherine Ann and the mayor, everybody for review by Monday. So that'll give me the week to look at them, and then he'll have it plenty of time.
Okay, because our next meeting where we would act upon this is February the 6th.
February 6th.
And if we don't act on it the 6th, our next meeting where we would act on it will be after your February meeting.
Right. So I will make sure that I have these to everyone by Monday.
All right, any questions about that? Sounds pretty good. Thank you, Andrea.
No problem.
Next on the agenda, we have next month we have a joint meeting with AMAC. And this would be a good time to have a discussion as to what we could have on the agenda, some items that we can talk about. This is exciting. It's something that I don't think I've had a joint meeting for several years, so personally that I've been to, so I think it'll be good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to fill Ann and Megan in, are you familiar with the Athens Municipal Arts Commission?
Yes.
Okay, are you?
Just that they exist, that they are.
Yeah, they're a commission similar in the sense that, you all are a board. They are a commission, and they have certain activities that they do to promote and to advocate for. They have create and do things within the community with regards to public art, and so some of the traffic wraps, the traffic box wraps that you see, that was AMAC. So I could get into the nitty gritty because I go to their meetings too about what they do, but there's obviously overlap when we talk about public art in city spaces. We're talking about public recreation, city spaces, and so they had expressed an interest in having and setting up, twice a year, 3 times a year. We can figure that out as we go, but having a joint meeting to check in with each other, see where, Rec Advisory Board and AMAC could work together, if there are things that are overlapping, maybe both boards don't need to be involved in one of these things. So it would be up to you all. That's just to kind of bring you up to speed to why we're having that joint meeting next month. This is the time to figure out how you want to go about it.
Is it all members and all members or just a representative from us
No.
in their meeting? And
This month, it's truly a joint meeting. They'll be here with us
Okay.
for the first one so that we can benefit from the live stream for everyone, since it hasn't happened for such a long time. And we discussed potentially doing one August or September, depending how everybody's schedule worked out, so that we're on a more regular schedule. One of my suggestions would be, since we had on our agenda to start an ad hoc committee for the master plan, it really makes sense to have some involvement from the Municipal Arts Commission as well, because of the programming that they do inside the spaces, and it definitely overlaps with recreation use of those spaces. And maybe the other thing, just get feedback from them on what their schedule is, because are they working right now to plan all the music in the parks?
No, that's something that we're doing.
So that's coming
but
from your programming.
last year it was a collaboration
Okay.
because they wanted to do a 20th or 25th. I think it was 20th anniversary of AMAC doing things within Athens, and so we worked together. But this year we're taking it on for the department, our budget, and
it might be okay. I mean, I'd like to hear what everybody thinks about it, who's familiar with AMAC, to keep the discussion portion of our agenda open so that we can talk about what our priorities are for the year as we flesh them out, and they have an opportunity to do that, and then have a discussion about, who knows what would happen when we all get in the room.
Yeah. Well, because they're right now working on establishing a committee, if they haven't already, to work on the percent for the arts that's attached to the fire department. And so that's public art in a public recreational space. So,
Well, it could be anywhere in the city.
a public space.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a recreation is how you define it.
Oh, no. I was saying the way the
Right,
percent
how
for our
the
ordinance,
percent,
it can
yeah.
Be, it can,
Yeah, it can be any
it can
public
be
space.
located anywhere.
Yeah.
It could be a surprise.
Seems like a natural mashup. I mean, their art is, I always think of it as part of the rec environment. So yeah, it makes complete, and they're so involved with local artists around here. They support them all the time. That's a great idea.
Maybe if Daniel reaches out to Kelly to see if they have anything specifically that they want to
Yeah,
add on
they
the
were gonna.
agenda.
I think the plan. Well, I'm not gonna speak for you. Sorry, Daniel.
No, that's great. Actually, in a couple things that I just heard, art in the environment or being part of the environment. Like, I'm loving the murals that I see around, and that's something that I feel like you can't really have too many of them. I mean, there's one that comes to mind is on the wastewater treatment plant. That's right along the bike path, a great recreation space, and it just it brightens up a place that necessarily.
That was a percent for art project, wasn't it?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I think
That was the tunnel was the tunnel to the Ridges.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, things like that, I think are great, and I'd love to see more. And I guess I would be interested in knowing the process of that, and also if there's anything I can do or we can do as a whole. So that's something that I had on my mind anyway.
So what I'm hearing is we're
Yes, not just you. I see.
yeah. Make sure there's time in the agenda for them to update on what their priorities are and discuss what their percent for art processes and if they need anything. Is the power going to go out?
I don't know.
Yeah, the front is here. I apologize for my phone, but was the emergency thing beeping, or not beeping, but yeah, the front is here. So we could or could not have power in the next 15 minutes. Yeah. A couple of logistical questions. There'll be 7 of you, or 5 of you for sure, hopefully 7. And then there'll be the AMAC crew. You're probably going to need to work with Ryan as to how you're going to set the room. Otherwise, it'll be you folks there, and then they'll be in the audience, which really doesn't convey the sense of a joint meeting. Second question, or point, or I guess this is a question. This says February 15th. Is that a misprint? Because February 16th is your regular schedule, the 3rd Thursday.
Oh, then it is a misprint.
It must be a misprint.
Yeah, so that 15th is a Wednesday.
Okay.
Oh, because their meeting normally is on Wednesday.
Yeah,
That's
they
probably
meet on
how
the
that
second
happened.
Wednesday
Are
of
they
the
gonna
month,
switch
which
their
would be the
This
8th.
time they're going to switch to ours.
Yeah.
And
Oh, how nice of
we discussed that then in the fall we would go on their night.
Yeah,
them.
makes sense. So, okay, good. That was it from a logistical standpoint.
How many people are on AMAC?
Hang on, I can tell you.
Maybe 5 to 7, and then usually Jeff Reisner, Andrew Chicky, and me and Emily. So additionally 4, which aren't on the board but are the.
Right. Just
And so, well, I guess you wouldn't have to include Andrew and Emily and Council Member Reisner, because they could be down here.
right.
But
They have 8, but like us, they have 3 vacancies too.
oh yeah,
According to
because
the
I
city
saw.
website.
So and they didn't fill any vacancies last night.
Not last night, but no. And if I take a moment and get everyone's face, because it just switched and they got. I don't know.
Okay, so 5 to 8. 5 to 8 plus 4.
Yeah. We can find that
We
out
can ask
before the
Kelly.
meeting. We can confirm. So I have 3 new people who started in the past couple months.
Great.
And I will also make a note too. I'll reach out to Kelly and Andrea, include you in that email as well. We can have some discussion about the agenda.
Sounds good.
All right, any other questions, thoughts before we move on? Okay. Now, time for old business, I guess old business. Nominations for our open positions. So, which is,
I would suggest we wait until next week. We don't have 2 more people.
yeah, no, here we are again. Well, let me just say, typically we have a chair, vice chair, and secretary, and as in the past, it's varied on how they get filled, but they do need filled at some point. So we can have that discussion now.
Table it, or
Do we want to?
table it and see if 2 more people show up.
Prior to not recommending, just like when I reached out to you and you, Megan, prior to our last meeting, making sure you were still interested, I wouldn't recommend if they weren't. So they know that they have been recommended. So now, once the mayor goes through it, if they were accepted, they would show up.
Okay. So
As long as Ash doesn't leave or Daniel next month.
I just kind of, I don't know, like I mentioned that tabling it last time, and obviously there's been a big turnover in this board, and ultimately somebody coming in, that might not know how the board works, is that unfair to kind of ask them to join the nomination process, where maybe for the sake of where we're at right now, is it better that we've got 3 members, including myself right now, that have been on the board for longer than 6 months, and maybe we've kind of going through this process of temporary, well, dependent on like the thought process, but Daniel, I feel you're doing a good job, and Andrea, you're doing a sterling job with that, and then maybe I come in as the vice, and maybe we can just move forward with that for the year, and then once the new 4 members come in and have a year under the belt or 6 months under the belt and know how this works, then maybe we can see where we all are after
In
that
November.
as a way to kind of just move this, because I think otherwise it's just going to get tabled and tabled and tabled until we just continue, or you 2 continue in that role. And like I said, I don't mind kind of being the vice process for that as being by default, I guess. Just to kind of take this off the table and move forward and hopefully get some consistency with the board, right? That's my kind of thought process with this right now.
My experience has been continuity of leadership. It can be useful, particularly when there are new folks coming in and it seems like new things for the group to be doing. So yeah, maybe having steady as she goes. Kind of.
Yeah. No, I agree with what you're saying, Ash, and I think for I guess as far as like new people coming on, how they feel about it. For myself initially, I probably would have been uneasy, and I was just happy to be just a member. But that definitely differs for people. I mean, I feel like so.
Well, I guess for 2 members, how would you feel, Anne, if he got thrown in and say, "Oh, there's a nomination process. Would you like to be vice chair?"
Yeah, I like you all. Just you look good in those chairs.
So you're seconding
I am
Ash's
seconding
recommendation.
his recommendation.
I just feel like we have an opportunity to kind of move forward with a bit of continuity, like Megan mentioned, and again, it's kind of like default because there's 3 of us that have been around for the last 6 months, and we kind of kind of know how things work. Obviously, Daniel, you've been on a lot longer, and Andrew, you've been back and forth. So, like, I'm happy to go in that vice chair role and support you, Daniel, in that process. And then maybe we reassess at the end of the year and see where we're at.
Sounds good. So I'm putting in the minutes that you're making a motion to make Daniel's position as president of
If
chair
that's okay with you,
permanent.
though.
Well, it is, as long as, I mean, Andrea, you know, are you,
I think that collectively, a title to me doesn't make a difference as long as we're working with the department and Catherine Ann and really trying to move forward. And I think the past 2 months, we've made a little bit of progress. So not moving backwards and pushing things forward is
yeah.
And your
fine.
name's on the seat.
But I think you're gonna have to move to the middle.
I'll have to go to the middle.
You can take that with you,
And the
though.
pad.
Just take the chair.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is, I mean, I know Anne from many interactions in various places, and I know Megan by reputation. I don't think those of us sitting here would be afraid to speak up, nor would Annie or Stu.
No.
So, I think it's a formality and
It is what it is at the moment.
It is what it is. So
Yeah.
what I heard you say, Ash, is you're making a motion to legitimize Daniel's position as chair, nominating yourself as vice chair, and my position as secretary will become permanent, right? So,
Correct.
so then we would need a second.
Second.
Okay.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Well, look, that can come off the agenda next
All
time.
right.
That's good.
And
Okay.
just looking ahead, another logistical point, traditionally, the chair has either continued or changed from December to January with the calendar year, and next year probably would need to that would happen again.
In November, we would address it.
Yeah, because Daniel's term on the board expires next February. That'll be your 6th year, and you can come out here to retirement land with me.
Yeah, do you know the date?
Yeah, the 28th of January.
You already counted
Excuse me,
down.
28th of February, I'm sorry, yeah, it's on the website.
Yeah,
on the
I-
website.
well,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, so that's just, and by then, hopefully, the other 6 will last a year, and
We're not
move
going
on forward.
anywhere.
Yeah.
We're in it. We're in it.
So, you're making our council meetings longer every Monday, every time we meet, gotta approve somebody new.
Okay.
All right, well, we can move on to the Arts, Parks, and Rec staff report.
All right. I left the front matter of what we would like from the advisory board that's been on there for a while, even though we decided last time. But I just left that on there for historical information for Anne and Megan. To give you an update, I don't have too much of an update on the master plan, digging in and what it is going to look like. I have had a couple conversations back and forth with Paul Logue, our city planner, about if he could get me into contact or make any recommendations of people that we've worked with as a city in the past for master planning assistance. And so we're moving forward on that as far as that seemed to me the first step on my end is what are the resources that we have that we can use to get professional support and help in the master planning process, but also continuing to figure out on my end what it would look like from the Recreation Advisory Board, what kind of assistance, which we've talked a little bit about that. It would involve community engagement, helping out with getting community input on what we need to be doing as a recreation and arts, parks and recreation department as far as our parks and our facilities and over the next 5 years, what that could look like. So that has, based on our last meeting, that seems like that was something that the board was really interested in kind of getting their teeth in on, and so I'm really excited to have that. Do you have any questions? Say
And
anybody, but either Ann or Megan too.
And for Ann and Megan, you probably saw it in the minutes, what we discussed last month was establishing an ad hoc committee of 3 individuals so they could begin working on, to establish that by March, because we would have everyone here, and we could establish that at our next meeting with all members present. It was supposed to happen this meeting, but it will have to happen next meeting. And then we could start working on some of those community engagement pieces.
Yeah. And then, of course, there's other things if you ever, want to bring up anything, whenever you can add to the agenda. We can talk about it in this kind of space whenever I'm giving my updates. And then sometimes I'll put out projects that we are working on and get feedback from you all. So the updates, we are in pool planning mode, and we had a couple wins this week, which is really exciting. I sent out emails to staff that we would like to invite back to apply. And so we've been getting some applications in for lifeguards, head guards, cashiers. We hired a pool manager, and we had our first official meeting yesterday where we kind of laid it all out. These are the expectations. She worked with us last year, so she has working knowledge of the facility. So our planning meeting yesterday was more so, okay, this is what the spring is going to look like and how you can start working right now, and then you'll bulk up your hours as you move forward, but she's going to be a part of the hiring process, which is going to be really important. So we're really excited about that. I got a WSIT to come in. So the water safety, we're a Learn to Swim facility, which is through the American Red Cross. And that provides us a really, quality curriculum whenever we're doing swim lessons, for instance. But you have to be water safety instructor certified. And one of the many challenges that we face, and we faced last year, is just getting people certified as lifeguards, but also water safety instructors. And so I got in touch with someone from Virginia, and this is what they do as their company, and they travel around and they do all kinds of trainings. And he said, I have availability that first week in June, and I said, come to us. So that's pretty exciting. We're gonna get as many folks on our staff water safety instructor certified, which would translate to more swimming lessons and sessions and evening classes, and that will help out because last year we had one water safety instructor, and you have to have a water safety instructor on deck to do swim lessons, and that's really hard to expect someone to also guard all day and be there for all the swim lessons that you offer. So hopefully that was a really big win whenever we got that secured and scheduled. The new splash pad surface, we have that scheduled, and that's also really exciting because we had some issues with the splash pad over the past couple of years with the paint and paint peeling and slipping, and it's painful now with the sand that was mixed into it. So we're going to get a poured in place surface. That's kind of like the rubberized surface that you might see on some playgrounds. It's not going to be as thick as those. It's like 3/8 of an inch thick, if that. But it's one of the surfaces that is recommended for splash pads. Turf. There's turf, you can do turf these days, but that was like a lot more money, and it's a newer technology, and so I wasn't gonna try it on, we weren't gonna be the guinea pigs. I'll let somebody else do that. So that's exciting, that'll happen, and we'll have a new splash pad surface. And then we're advertising for OU Aquatic Center certification for lifeguards, but we also secured a separate training with Leslie Yinger. We used her last year as well to help get some guards certified. And this is a win because for all of these things, because last year we started planning in January, but we didn't really have things secured until it felt too tight and too close. It all worked out, but so we started early. And we're also going to retrofit a family restroom at the pool with a universal size changing table. So take out the child size and put in a larger changing table, and that was at the recommendation. I met with a couple folks in December, and we looked at some of our spaces and how to retrofit them. So we're going to be doing that in the community center as well. That's a bigger project because we have to kind of get partitions correct in there, but this one was kind of easier in the sense of it doesn't really take too much, just get it. We have to move a hand dryer and it'll be there. So hopefully that'll be there. by the time we open. So that'll be a nice resource for the community. Pool, we're excited. And we have programming going on. We have our basketball, dance and movement classes, open play Saturdays for our youth, childcare, pre-K, before and after care, wee wigglers, all that's still going on. We are planning for our spring break camp, so we have registration open for that right now, and that was something that we tried out last year and was met with success because parents need a place to put their kids during spring break. And we have a lot of OU students who are our staff for childcare, and so since they have the same spring break as Athens City School District, it works out as far as staffing. So registration's ongoing for that. We're excited about that. We have our regular fitness classes going on. We had this mileage challenge that we started in December. So it's coming to a close to get to 2,023 miles collectively by the end of January as a community. And I think we're going to make it. And we had already had 2 drawings. And Nicole, our program specialist at for Parks and Recreation, she went out into the community and got some awesome kind of goodies to have as part of these drawings for prizes, and people have been pretty stoked about that whenever they win, so that's always exciting. I've been still working with the Athens, Ohio Soccer Organization. We met last week just to kind of continue discussing the soccer changes that are continuing to happen with the spaces that we have. I need to pick up the Sandlot MOU soon. And we have after-school programming at Arts West. We're trying out adult arts classes as well, and so this was the first week that they ran. So I'll touch base with Emily to see how. I know registration on Arts West side sort of starts or it picks up closer to the start date of some of these classes. So I'll check in with her to see how that's going. But they're also planning for. And so that means planning for production is, right now they're starting rehearsals for the Once production, and that's it's for the Disabilities Awareness Month, and they've done a really great job of hiring actors with disabilities and having a cast that, and because the show, and that's one thing I'm not 100% sure the storyline of the show, other than I know that it is it will be a really not something that we see in Athens often, so it would be mysterious in that way. And they've got the musical lending library going on, and parks. We're still waiting for the ground to be ready for us to prep the surface to install a playground at West State Street Park. And so for Ann and Megan, it's a playground that we got from West Elementary. So Dr. Gibbs let us go. It was the younger kids' playground, so it was in much better shape than the other playground. And so we had some folks take it apart, and we're holding on to it and waiting to put it at West State Street Park. And we had some storm drainage work completed at the West State Street Park on the driving range permit area for soccer. So we've been working on improving a space for soccer. Working on getting some replacement parts for our playgrounds. And I forgot to introduce our intern, Anna. Anna started, and it was really exciting to have the intern position put back into the staffing ordinance for us for this year. So Anna started this week. We're really excited to have her. Okay, back to this. Community events and engagement. Well, we're working on the Music in the Park series, planning that, and the Movies in the Park series. So we did both of those last summer, and they were really incredible events for our community. So we've started that planning process. We had a good planning meeting yesterday just kind of going through every single month, what kind of events do we have coming up, what kind of programming do we have coming up, and assigning point people for each thing. And so we're working right now on focusing on what can we do for Beautification Week, and then the Kids to Parks Day. So those are the most kind of pressing.
Do you have a date for those?
Well, I say Beautification Week because I feel like there's a lot of things that happen around the Beautification Day, but that's around Earth Day. And Kids to Parks Day is in May. I can't remember off the top of my head. It's in
Like
the
it's not imminent.
but yeah, and something that I would like to do, and I don't know if it's too late yet, and so this could be, maybe Daniel, you have some insight, but we really need to get pollinator habitat going down in the riparian area, and I was thinking that could be a really awesome, like, broadcast seed, but I don't know if April is too late to do that in that space. I haven't done enough research to figure out when we need to plant some pollinators.
Excuse me, the Wistendal people probably would be a great resource.
Oh,
for that.
yeah, good point. Good point. I was speaking with Sonny the other day.
Probably depends if we're gonna get a flood down there this year.
Mary
Yeah, I'm
Hubble
sure we
put
will.
one at the middle school pollinator garden, the science teacher. She's got a lot of background. And it's very up on volunteering.
Awesome. Middle school science?
Yeah, Marianne Hopple. She put ours in. It's beautiful.
Awesome. That sounds great. I'm getting a tickle. Great. And then the big projects that we've had going on, West State Street Park bathroom, the one that exists down there. We're still waiting on the stall doors to be installed. That took a very long time to get here, and they will be installed before we open those restrooms. So I have put it out to everyone. A plea, please get those in. I think Greg, one of our facilities guys, is probably exhausted of hearing me say, "Have you got the stall doors in?" Then the riparian project, that is kind of what I just mentioned. We need to kind of implement our next steps. We have a multi-year plan that was provided to us, and so that next step is getting the pollinator habitat while we also continue to keep invasives from growing back.
Hey, Catherine Ann, just
Yeah.
one question about that, the invasive control. Do you know, like, what methods are being used right now, or do you know any of the details on that?
Now we're not now, we're not mowing, but once things start growing again, we're going to be mowing for this next season in that space at least.
Okay. So it's a mechanical, though?
Yeah,
versus- okay.
it was a variety of methods before, and now I think our focus for the spring is going to be mechanical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a process.
I keep on saying we need to have goats.
I was honestly, I was going to say.
I think Kevin might explode if I tell him that now he has goats that he's going to
That
have
live
as a
down
part
by
of
the
the
bike
lands. But I think there's also things that grow there that are not good for goats and can be toxic. So, all right, then the upcoming projects. The community center roof, that bid has been awarded. We're still waiting on, they've been coming and doing kind of final measurements, and then we'll have a pre-construction meeting where we finalize all the details. And so here in the coming months, construction will begin on our roof, and we will get a new roof at the community center. Yes.
Will that affect the availability or the hours at the rec center?
No, not that I'm aware of, because they're doing an overlay. Yeah. So, but that's something that we will talk about in the pre-construction meeting is, when will they and how will we keep pathways open and safe, pedestrian friendly, and into and out of the community center. But that will be something that we'll have to hash out, and yeah. And then the new West State Street restroom facilities, we went back, revised the bid specs, which was just the estimate of cost, because the two bids that we received were over what we could accept. And then since I had met with those folks about universal size, also adult changing tables, I asked the BDT to add those to the design instead of replace, since this is a new build, we can do that. And so we changed that spec in there, and we put it back out to bid. We'll have the bid opening on the 30th, so hopefully we will be able to award a bid and get new restrooms. The construction started at least in the spring. And then tennis and pickleball. I was working on finalizing the documents yesterday because I received everything that I needed from BDT. They revised the specs and the estimate of cost and sent it back to me. And then I just had to plug in some editing things, and then I was gone all day. So tomorrow, I did start the process of scheduling bid opening, and so I think we should be able to have that advertised next week. So that'll be really great.
I read in a lot of the minutes, there was a lot of talk about it, but I couldn't, and solar panels and green space.
Yeah.
Where are the tennis and the
Yeah.
pickleball?
Oh, I
I
should have.
missed that part.
I have a great picture in my office of the, big poster board. So if you ever come by, I can really show you. But if you are coming down East Park Drive, so that's in between CVS and the pool, and then there's the water lab, and then there's a public restroom. The tennis courts are going to go right behind that restroom. And then the solar array is going to take up the rest of that space, so where the current dog park is. And then the pickleball courts, there's asphalt that's behind the community center and between the skate park and community center. And they're going to go, there's a section that's wider than the rest of it, and so they're going to mill the top of that asphalt and then pour. It's like somewhere between 1 and 2 inches that they're going to mill, and so then they're going to pour, so it'll be like a flat surface. But they're not completely ripping it out, and just kind of resurfacing in that sense.
So did you decide not to do the consecutive bidding of what it would cost to redo the existing ones that we talked about last month?
Yeah, we decided not to do that, yeah.
Okay.
So we kind of went into, we went in a back and forth of, well, what if this was an alternate bid? And then what if this was the alternate bid? And one of the things that we don't want to do is this is already, it's a hard market to bid projects in. And one of the things that we changed about this is that we took the cost of asphalt off of the bidder and just have in there that the city will purchase the asphalt. So, because we were finding from talking to different people that asphalt prices are fluctuating so much that people are putting out, bids that are high, but they have to make sure that they're covering their costs, right? And they don't know what the asphalt's going to be whenever they're ready to lay it. And so that was something that we took that completely out of the estimate, and it's just written in there that, they would cover picking up and getting the asphalt and then pouring it, like all of that labor, but that we would purchase the asphalt. So that's a part of.
And at the last meeting too, it was discussed potentially having a second bid if we did use the existing space, but that's not happening now. Because the old tennis courts, resurfacing.
Right.
And then we had the discussion that
Right.
would always need maintenance.
Yeah,
So that's.
Correct.
Correct, right?
that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, to jog
The
my
new
memory.
space, new space, not using existing space.
I may have a more recent update than that, though. We had a meeting, Mike McCary and I with the mayor in the last week, and seriously considering putting out the bid this time with no price. What happened last time is we put out the bid with the price, and the bid came in 86% over that. If you put out and if it's more than 10%, you have to throw the bid out. If you put out a bid there with no price, which we often do on projects in the city, then theoretically, you'll get more than one person to bid, and the cost will be more accurate. Anybody's ever been in bids, it's a guessing game. Well, what's the most I can charge and still be the best and most responsible bidder? So there's some consideration of that. The second thing is some consideration looking at alternative sites. We have been told by multiple experts after looking at the last set of photos from 2018, where there's water this deep on where this is going to go, that is not a suitable site. So I'm not sure if you were involved in that. I know some people have been out of town, but I guess we should say, because it's been on this agenda so many times, stay tuned as to what we may have with this. But the idea of being able to bid it and get competitive bids is exciting. And I'm going to throw this figure out there, even though we're on TV. I'm guessing council's going to be asked to allocate $700,000. Whoa, $700,000. $710 for the chair I just broke. But I'm guessing it's probably going to be $700,000 in the end. And again, that's my guess. I'm not speaking.
For both.
Yeah, I'm not speaking on behalf of council. I'm just, based on what I've seen, talking to various contractors and stuff, we're probably looking at a whole lot of money. But on the flip side, and I don't know if you got any calls this week or not, Catherine, but I got some from some citizens. Court time is at a premium down there, and we have people playing a sport for the first time in 20 or 30 years. We have people in their 70s and 80s actively playing pickleball, which is a good thing.
We have people on national tours
Yeah.
in this town.
Yeah,
Very
which is really a good thing to see. So yeah, it's when people say it's the fastest growing sport in America, that's not an urban legend or a myth. That is reality. So I think we all want to do it right. So again, stay tuned. There's some additional conversations into the things that the director shared with us today that are being discussed.
Hope that the bid doesn't come in at 700 if the asphalt's not in it.
Well, that's more than anything that we ever got, so I don't know where that number, but things continue to change, so.
Right.
Fingers crossed. Alan, can you repeat the other person's name that you met with? I had the mayor.
Oh, Micah McCary, he is a council, council member, at large council member. Yeah, he and I are on the Safety Services Committee, and the two of us met with the mayor for the last week or so, and had a good meeting, talked about a lot of topics.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, and I left off too, I forgot that I've been in contact with folks about, which isn't necessarily, we try to keep outdoor stuff, but it's also important to continue with what all we're doing. But we have an art gallery at the community center, and I have contact information for Athens City School art teachers, but I haven't reached out to all of them yet. But I also got in contact with Beacon School, and so they have responded back and said, yes, like we've started talking about what the logistics would look like to have an art gallery from Beacon School there. And so what my new vision for that space is that we kind of fill it with schools, arts. I've already talked to our program specialists. We're going to have an art week for our camp. And so then that kind of idea is that they would have a gallery opening and in the community center at the end of the culmination of camp to showcase their art. So yeah, right now it's just kind of a sad wall with hangers. Like there used to be something here. So we're trying to get something there.
Just take the hangers off.
Yeah, no, then they'll get lost and
I have a quick question about recreation and collaborations. It says we'll pick up Sandlot MOU soon. Not at the last council meeting, but at the previous two council meetings, the mayor referenced an environmental initiative in Athens that we're using the slogan "Plastic Free in 23." Because they run a concession stand down there, is that something, because it is on city property, that we're going to include in that MOU, that be plastic free, which is consistent with the rest of the city property in 23?
Yeah, I need to look more into and have more conversations with folks about, because I've been focusing on how to go plastic free at the pool, for instance, and that is a little bit more challenging than one would expect. So I'm going to follow up with Andrew Chicky on kind of what our expectations are of folks who are using our spaces.
So, and you're talking about packaging, like packaging? Well, yes.
And yes. Yeah.
Cups in particular. Cups and cutlery and things like that, yeah.
You should call, Pepsi's a big partner of a lot of our youth sports, but you should talk to Laura Knoll as well out at Pepsi so that she knows about these initiatives as she's working with the groups using your spaces.
Yeah, we have. So we put this, and I can't recall if our specific person is Laura, but whenever we talked about this last summer, because we were talking about, they sponsored our movie in the parks, and so we were asking them about, because we get all of our drinks, what are our plastic-free options for drinks at the concession stand at the pool? And unfortunately, from them, there's not a lot. You can go aluminum cans, but if anybody has been at the pool, what happens whenever you have any sort of spill of food or drink, bees are all over it. And so I'm just imagining, and if you've ever like sat your aluminum can of soda out in the sun before, bees are on it. And so that just seems like a big risk that we're inviting in if we went with aluminum cans, and you're going to increase spills. And they do aluminum water bottles, which are exorbitantly expensive. So fountain drinks are not an option. I've heard a lot of cons of using fountain drinks in a space where it's not heated and cooled, and the temperature isn't, because you get condensation and then you get slip and falls, and then you also have to we would have to rig up our system to be able to do that. So it's not impossible to do this, but there are a lot of things that we have to consider and work through. Yeah, but yeah, they are aware, but I haven't picked that up in a few months, so now is the time. Any other questions or thoughts?
I can help you out with getting a hold of the art teachers
Great.
if you want to talk after this.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Move on to announcements and other business. Which all we have is just that, again, our next meeting is February 16th, so not the 15th, but at 5:30 p.m. here with AMAC. It's pretty straightforward. Any questions about that? No. Right. Well, let's say everybody wants to make a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor?
Hi.
Thank you, everybody.